talk, made up excuses that your friends were calling on the phone. But as the time ran by, lost that look in your eye. We turned this home into a house, and that's the reason why. First you're on time, and then you need space. Why make it perfect just to walk away? Said you meant well, but you just lacked grace. Why are we always chasing hurricanes? Let's start over, it's not the end, and I told ya. Don't think it over, do you? You just put the blame on me. You just put the blame on. When did I let you down? When did the time run out? 'Cause when I look into your eyes, it just don't feel like us. What do I have to do to make you see it clear? I'm trying harder every day to make it back to you. First you're on time, and then you need space. Why make this perfect just to walk away? Said you meant well, but you just lacked grace. Why are we always chasing hurricanes? And it's not over, it's not the end, and I told ya. Don't think it over, do you? You just put the blame on me. You just put the blame on me. You just put the blame on me. It's not over, it's not the end, and I told ya. Don't think it over, do you? You just put the blame on me. It's not over, it's not the end, and I told ya. Don't think it over, do you? You just put the blame on me. You need some time, and then you need space. Why make it perfect just to walk away? Said you meant well, but
Green light, give it all you got.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round 6 of season 6 Raceface ACC GT3 series. This evening we are at Mount Panorama, one of those interesting ones. I remember last week when Mr. Koenig was in the commentary box with me, I mentioned that Laguna Seca is one of the only tracks that has a little bit of a mine shaft or a little major dip on the hill. Well, I kind of forgot this week. We are slamming another one with possibly an even worse one. Should be an interesting race this evening. We're hoping that we can see some good battles, particularly through the mountain, and see who's going to be king of the hill at the end of the day. So welcome. May we have a good race this evening. Hopefully get to see everyone put in a good performance. Nothing untoward. And just have some good, clean fun. As we have just close to 15 minutes left of qualifying. Currently sitting in the top spot, Mr. Lewis. He's gone out 3 times to get a time in. He's sitting with a best time of 2:01 0.029, with Daniel Rowe just behind him, 0.05 seconds to be exact, and then Mr. Clue sitting in third spot. Majority of the guys having done between 3 and 4 laps. Mr. Masters sitting in 14th spot at the moment has done 2 at the moment. Oh, he just did his third and jumped up a few spots. With the team standings this evening, we've also seen a bit of movement with ATK bumping the Hybrid Academy team Stealth from second down to third, so ATK taking that second spot. The Hybrid Academy team Velocity, of course, still maintaining that top spot, and we now have 2 BWR teams back in the top 10 in the form of the Sloths, position 5, and Vipers, who's now come in at that 10th spot. Mr. Koenig, unfortunately, can't join us this evening. Eskom has decided to give him the evening off. Mr. Otten's in his blue Aston, currently sitting in 19th position, also having done 3 laps. Take a quick peek at Mr. Rowe, as he's currently sitting in second spot. Was slightly up on his time, but perhaps going to make up a few tenths as he goes up through the hills. That's it, Martin. BWR definitely feeling bullish this evening. As mentioned, they now have 2 teams back in top 10. As we see more and more established teams coming through. That's it, Mr. King, KSR. Something that we may be toying with is a possible team dueling championship type system with a sudden death knockout round. If anyone is interested in exploring such opportunities or ventures, maybe pop a note, pop some ideas. But we definitely have a good mix of teams coming through the leagues. I think there's a lot of fun and interesting events that we could put together between them. Oh, unlucky Mr. King. I was also almost sitting on the sideline. Thank goodness I had Jenny's, and Eskom was kind enough to put the power on before we went live, so I don't have to worry about running out of petrol, because I'm not quite sure how full it is. But yes, Eskom has decided to give lots of people off this evening. Bit of a break. Hall currently sitting in 15th position, coming in 5/10ths quicker than his best. Seems to be maintaining that speed as he comes through. Doesn't really do too much for his standing. Mr. Isherwood sitting at number 90 at the moment. He'll definitely bump up a few spots as he comes in 8/10ths quicker than his previous best, having done 5 laps. I'm pretty sure he'd want to try and get at least 1 or 2 good more laps before calling it a day, as we are now under 10 minutes of quali left. Again, round 6, so next week being the penultimate round in what has been a rather interesting season, to say the least. Had a couple of bloopers awards, couple of running out of fuel moments. Of course, the first evening we decided to do the blooper awards. Kippy over here decided to have some serious technical issues, and everyone out on track had a smashing evening, so quite keen to hand that little trophy over to whoever's willing to accept it. Rather tricky corners these. Could quite easily play pinball as you come down this mine shaft. And the absolute worst is broadsiding in those little narrow twists and turns. So we're checking on Mr. Nkube, sitting in 10th position at the moment. He's 5/10ths up. Coming down the long back straight, we get some really good speed in excess of 260 k's an hour. Perhaps we could have a look at what some of the speeds are of the guys coming down. As I bring my second wall telemetry in a little bit better view here. So 284 being the quickest time at the moment of all the drivers. That spot shared by Skitter and by Van Wyk in position 14 and 12 respectively. Van Lochrenberg from BWR Slots definitely has some support in the stands this evening. Not sure if we can be waving some pink and black flags. Lovely little color scheme. On the front grille, looks like a frown that should be turned upside down. Cheese for the day, there we have it. Lewis still holding that top spot, having done 7 laps with Johan Bega-Grobler right on his heels. Basically 2/10ths behind him. Daniel Rowe being knocked down, sitting in 3rd position, followed by Paul Gerber in 4th. Klue has now dropped down to 5th position with Tariq Adam right behind him. And Kube now sitting in 10th spot, so he's had a good lap. Brian Lewis coming in even a little quicker. Just edging it further and further away from the competitors behind him. Just making it more and more difficult. Luckily we have 0% chance of any kind of rain. I'd hate to imagine what a disaster that could look like. Brian Lewis just smashing one after the other, again coming in 3/10 quicker than his previous lap and maintaining it. I think this is going to be the man to keep up to this evening. Oh, as we come in and have a look at Mr. Gerber, he has a little moment as he comes down the exit of the mountain. Van Coller jumping into 14th position after his previous lap. Going out a little bit wide on that one, decides to call it a day. Mr. Clue sitting in 6th position. As we head into the final minute of quali, this is pretty much the grid as it stands. Lewis holding his pole position. Johan Bego Grobler sharing that first row with him in second. Daniel Rowe, Tariq Adam consuming the second row. Paul Gerber and Lionel Klue sitting in third row. Nkube and Greiling in the fourth row. And of course Masters and Edison sitting in the fifth row. Isherwood sitting in 11th position at the moment. Also sitting in the pits, so he won't be coming out to challenge for an additional spot. Oh, Rowe going and taking that third spot, just sneaking in past Klue. So as it stands, Rowe and Klue now consume the second row. Adam and Gerber on the fourth row, and Nkube and Greiling. Apologies, Nkube and Greiling on the fourth row, and Keegan, Masters and Edison on the fifth row. Junior McCall popping his head in a little bit late. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to put a quali time in. Also not sure if the quali ban extended 2 weeks. I know last week he had the quali ban and had a fight from the back. See a shot of the two Hybrid Academy cars. Daniel Rowe and Mr. Adam, both of them 2/10 up at the moment. Not really going to make too much of a difference, but again, a bit of a change. So Rowe and Adam now on the second row next to each other. They decide to pull up side by side, share a story or two of their quali. So as we get ready in the final moments, 2.5 minutes to go before we kick off. I think if there's ever time to replace that coffee or any other drink that you might have close by, now would be it. And I, for one, shall be taking a quick break. I definitely need some more caffeine. See you shortly. back with a few seconds to spare as we kick off the warm-up lap. Both Junior and Morgan McCall sitting in 20th and 21st respectively. So both of them going to be doing a little bit of a fight from the back, a little bit of a back to front, I'm sure will be the intention. Quite a tricky decline this one. Again, you've got to get your timing right, make sure that you get your lines right, you get the right exit speeds out of each corner. Try your best not to play a bit of pinball between the sides. Two ATK team members and brothers sitting at the back. Pretty sure they're going to want to put some additional points on the board. Currently sitting in second position on the team standings. As we start heading down back to the starting grid. Tyres ever so slightly warmer. Wouldn't necessarily say in ideal condition, but definitely ready for the race to start. As they come around that final turn. Slight size difference there between the front row Audi and the Bentley. And off we are. Round 6 of season 6 is off, and Lewis goes into the first bend nice and tight. Already has a bit of a gap between himself and Grobler, and we have a whole string of pro drivers right behind him wanting to challenge him for that spot. Just getting a view a little bit further back on the grid. Everyone so far getting through nice and clean. Seeing a lot of pink and black. Love to see that support. As we come through for our first test of steel, coming up to our blind horizon, needing to get this perfectly right. If anyone gets this wrong on the first lap, they are going to have a terrible time trying to fight their way back. So far everyone seems to be pulling through nice and straight, nice and clean, keeping all four wheels pointing in the right direction. Although there seems to be a bit of a gap between front and back. Don't know. See a couple of accident reports. Doesn't look like anything too major. Otten's now in 14th position. Kaike Racing, of course, dropping out of the top 10 this week. So fairly sure they're going to want to get some points, get back in it. Front view spot settled with Lewis, Bago, Grobler, Rowe and Adam. Getting a view from the back of Nkube's Audi as it's staring at Isherwood, trying to come up the side. Oh dear, as we switch to Hannes van Wyk. Oh, not too pleasant. We have quite a pile up as we start coming through some of the back corners. Hall getting off again from Retro Esports. Fortunately, that's now going to separate the various areas of our worm running across that map. Not sure if Hall was giving position back or if he's just struggling somewhat. Or as we see a little bit more argy-bargy in the background. Couple of cars looking nice and damaged. Greiling sitting with his bonnet popped open. Hopefully his steering isn't too much affected, not necessarily infected, as we have the pit window now open. We might see a few go in, as we already see Van Wyk. In fact, we've already got a few sitting in the pits, needing to go and do some repairs. Very unfortunate. So Junior McCall having made his way up to 15th position. Sitting with the 707 Ferrari, Gombe, in 15th position. Quite a number of vehicles now going into pits, needing to go get sorted out. Still have another 85 minutes to go, as we see a fair amount of them pulling in, giving those leaders a much better opportunity to spread that lead. Greiling in his AMG sitting right behind Mr. Gerber from Team Try Hard Racing in his lonesome Honda on the grid. Masters in his Porsche sitting right behind Greiling. As we see Morgan McCall sitting right behind Nkube. McCall looks like he seems to be struggling somewhat. Not sure if a bit of damage was picked up earlier, that he was struggling somewhat, allowing cars to get past. Perhaps he will be pulling into the pit soon. Still commanding that leading spot, Brian Lewis. Number 1 in his 101 Audi. Grobler making sure that he doesn't forget that he's behind him. Just staying within his rearview mirror distance. Van Koller from Retro Neon sitting in 12th position in his little Bentley. Bit of space between himself and Isherwood, just shy of 4 seconds, as Isherwood is applying his pressure on Addison, just ahead of him. As we see in that shot there, Junior McCall coming around the corner. Junior sitting in 13th place at the moment. Oh dear. And there again we are seeing McCall losing it in one of the corners. Not quite being able to hold it. Have a sneaky suspicion he's got himself some damage there. Struggling to keep the stuff together. Seeing some big gaps here between the various drivers, between Gombe and Junior McCall, just shy of 8 seconds, and again from McCall to Van Koller, another 8 seconds odd. So those little argy-bargies, of course, adding a lot of space between most of the guys, separating those worms somewhat, as Masters is chasing down Greiling and Gerber. The leader of the pack not too far ahead of them. Some remaining in striking distance. With so many going through the pits, we have all the way from Van Lochrenberg all the way down, having already served their mandatory pit stop. The assumption is every single one of those was due to damage caused in some of the incidents we saw. They had one pile-up, of course, already taking out about 50% of the vehicles. As we see trailing out of the rear end view of Mr. Gerber of Team Tryhard. And Masters obviously keeping that pressure. Making sure that he is within the right distance, that should there be a sniff of a gap, that he'll put his nose in it. Issued now in 14th position, with Ottens sitting right in front of him, sitting in 19th. Still have a fair amount of time to go. So we have just shy of an hour and 10 minutes. Checking in on Tariq Adam, his blue and white hybrid. Was lucky enough this evening to have a McLaren actually drive past me on the way home. Felt quite jealous. Stunning cars. Rowe, Adam and Clue, all three showing you how that corner should be done. Keep it tight. Don't go out too wide. Do not leave too many gaps. The green Mamba up front there with Lewis, still leading the way. So back to keeping an eye on who's going to be doing the quickest or get the highest pace down this straight. We had 284 during qualifiers. And if second monitor would play nice, I might be able to give you current view. Yep, not playing so nice. As we see, Isherwood has also now gone through the pits, so from 14 all the way down, way before the halfway mark, have served their pit stop strategies. Hopefully they put enough fuel for the second stint. We'd hate for the blooper award to be dished out early this evening, and I am so itching to dish it out. Sitting on the back of Daniel Rowe, keeping an eye on Adam and Clue. is, of course, not only the driver standings, we also have, or the team standings, we also have the driver standings. Johan Bego Grobler leading that at the moment for Hybrid Academy Team Velocity. Championship points currently sitting on 144. Just behind him is Junior McCall from ATK Academy on 138, as we see Edison decide to edge past Nkube. Nkube's vehicle looking a little bit worse for wear. That Audi not looking too happy. The nose looks a little bit bent out of shape. Luke Edison, of course, he is currently in 4th position, right behind Tariq Adam on the driver standings at the moment. Tariq Adam on both Tariq Adam and Luke Edison. In fact, they are tie for championship points, 130 apiece. Paul Gerber sitting in 5th position for Team Try Hard Racing. Daniel Rose sitting in 6th position on the driver standings, again for Hybrid. So Hybrid out of the top 6 have got 4 drivers. Bernard King sitting in 8th position, unfortunately not taking part this evening, as Escom again said he should be taking a break. Fortunately, he won't be able to add some onto that. So Ryan Ottens, if Ottens gets any more than 2 points, he will be jumping Mr. King. Tariq Adams sitting mighty close there behind Daniel Rowe. Not sure if the intention with this would be for Adam to just sit nice and tight behind Rowe for the race. Consistency of these 3 drivers is absolutely amazing. Lap after lap we are seeing the exact same positioning, same lines. It's almost as bad as Groundhog Day. Looks like we are seeing the same lap over and over again. It's just a matter of who's going to make the mistake first and leave the other 2 to go ahead. I'm sure we'll be seeing some tight lines between these 3 guys for the rest of the evening, keeping each other honest and on their toes, of course. Krayling taking his team name to the next level as he tries to take advantage of that slipstream coming out past. Oh, was there a slight touch? No. Oh dear. Gerber's nose might have been touched, but ultimately spins off a little bit, leaving Krayling to pull ahead. Take that 7th position. Well, 6th position, apologies, with Masters sitting right behind him in 7th. And of course Gerber in the distance there, having gotten his nose back on the road, the wheels in the right direction. He's back in it. Not sure if Krayling will be trying to push it a little bit again tonight. Skitter sitting in 18th position. also one of those that have entertained us with running out of fuel. I think his was probably the most classic. Literally a few meters before the line. Could have gotten out and pushed. But I'm sure everyone has figured out their fuel calculators and sorted that out for this evening. Clue sitting so tight behind Adam. Sure, Adam is just focusing on the rear end of row, making sure he stays on the line. Clue though completely sucking up that slipstream. Oh, and he decides to eventually make a move. Is he going to squeeze himself between the two hybrid cars coming in on the inside? Forcing Adam around the outside, squeezing in just behind him. He decides to dissect the two hybrid cars, squeezing himself right in the middle. And now we'll start hunting down row. Nicely done, Mr. Clue. With Clue having overtaken Adam, it has now opened the gap somewhat. Absolutely a nice move, absolutely stunning. Adam, of course, would want to get on to Clue as quickly as possible and return the favor at some point. Keegan Masters, few cars back, sitting right behind Greiling. So far, his best being a 202. Clue edging ever so closer to the back of Daniel Rowe. Showing the strength of that all-wheel drive through the bends, up the hills and through the corners. Well, as we see a slight slip out a little bit further back, not sure. No, might have just been a little bit of a broadside. As we see Masters, again keeping that pressure on Greiling. As he decides to look at possibly making a move. No, it's a little bit of a slide out again. Those Porsches are not easy. having now completed 12 laps for majority of the drivers. Hannes van Wyk and Morgan McCall having pulled out. Robert Gombe also sitting in the pit at the moment, only having done 8 laps, so a fair amount of work to be done if he's even thinking of getting any points, which at this stage seems nigh impossible. I wouldn't say 100% impossible, because nothing is ever impossible, but more like highly improbable. Masters dropping back a bit after his little slide out, now sitting 1.263 behind Greiling. Clue, of course, still making a nuisance of himself behind Daniel Rowe. Just can't shake him. Getting closer to that 50-minute mark. We now see at least 40% of the drivers have gone through their mandatory pits. Junior McCall currently in 10th position, having fought from what I believe was 20th. Yeah, 20th position. Lewis, of course, having a nice extended lead. Just over 3 seconds ahead of Bego Grobler. Issued going a little bit wide there, unfortunately. Scraping the barrier as he has Nkube right behind him, hoping that he'll do the same again on almost every corner as he goes through some of the sections. Isherwood's best time at the moment being a 2:03.096. With Nkube and Van Lochrenberg not too far behind. No, it's not Van Lochrenberg. Van Lochrenberg is in fact quite far behind Nkube. Just shy of 14 seconds. It's going to be interesting to see within this top 5, top 10, who's going to start going to the pits, as we see Masters already having gone in. He's currently in 7th position. Clue's still sitting quite comfortably behind Rowe. Although 6/10, he's got a good rhythm. And Kube keeping an eye on the Bentley behind him. This, of course, being the battle to watch at this juncture. And we see Clue pull another maneuver, catching that slipstream. Was he close enough? No, I don't think he could catch a sniff on that one. I'm sure he'd want to get himself into a favourable position as he gets around the lap and try and have another attack or another go at it in the next round. Lionel Clue so far this evening, having himself a great race. We go on board with Lionel Clue. Unfortunately, this time around again, not able to capitalize. Just slightly outside of striking distance. As this half of the track is where you'd probably want to try and do those moves. Doing it on the half of the track where you're going through the mountainous area, not always a good idea. Can get sticky, can get tricky. As with most things, I suppose, patience is key. Consistency is key. You just need to keep within that striking distance. As you're watching Kube, sitting right on Isherwood's tail. I'm sure he's loving that drag, that slipstream that he's getting from the big Aston. Oh! Was he thinking of pushing his nose in there? Almost looked like it, but decided against it. Mr. Nkube, I think you should perhaps get a little bit closer. Oh dear, and as we have contact, both drivers come out okay, as we have Clue now going alongside Rowe. No, tucks in behind him, as it looks like we now have Adam pulling into the pits. Yeah, Adam decides to do what he needs to do his mandatory stop. Rowe, I'm assuming, is not too keen to go in just yet, not wanting to give that position away. If Clue would like to take advantage of that, he's going to obviously want to try and get as close to Rowe as he can, either for that back straight or again for the pits. If Rowe goes into the pits, you'd want to make sure he is as close as possible, so once Rowe comes out, you can at least perhaps have shaved off a bit of time. Oh dear, as we see a bit of a spin out there. Not sure if that was Hall. Yeah, he decides he'll take the as the crow flies line. He decides to hell with corners. What are they for? If I've got tar, why not use it? I'm like that with the golf course. If you're going to pay for 18 holes and walk 6 kilometers, you can get double your value if you just hit the ball from side to side and walk yourself 12. Easy game that one is. Hall sitting in 15th position as we check in again on Rowe, with Clue sitting right behind him. The gap opening up somewhat as we're getting edging closer to 8/10 of open air, which, as Mr. Koenig would say, it's pretty much in next week or close to. As not, we pretty much have half the field that have completed their pit stop. As we get close to the 40-minute mark, we'll start seeing some more. Addison is the next one. As Rowe comes out, he could possibly come into 6th position. Yep, there we go. As he slots in behind Junior McCall, who still needs to do his pit stop.
We're at the halfway mark. Keep pushing.
In fact, Mr. Rowe, I believe, seems to have a lap or two on Junior McCall. No? No, not actually. Same lap. Just the leaderboard wasn't playing nice or cooperating. As we now have 15 drivers left on track. A few have decided to call it quits. Might be thinking this stage of the season, if I'm not getting points, what is the point? Great stuff, Kev. I'm glad you got some audio there. Rowe currently in 7th, but you can be guaranteed he'll be taking a few of his spots back again as we see more and more going into the pits. Clue, of course, having gone in now, so Rowe taking that position back again. Tariq Adam in 8th position, now sitting behind Rowe again. Just shy of 2.5 seconds behind. As Kube is sitting now in 12th in his Audi, chasing down Mr. Isherwood. Oh, Keegan Masters. Just greeting Mr. Clue. Two cars that generally like a lot of bends. The Porsche, of course, a little bit more difficult to try and keep straight and on the track. As we see the two of them flying through the corners, coming down to the bottom of the hill in the exit. As we hear that Porsche's motor screaming at the top of its lungs, chasing down Clue in his 969 Audi. Just shy of 5/10. So of the top 5, the only one that has done their pit stop is Mr. Lewis. Who in all probability, once the likes of Bega, Grobler, Greiling, Gerber and McCall have pitted, they will end up slotting him behind Lewis. So he just needs to come out, get his tyres warm as quickly as possible, get back to the right race pace. All sitting in 15th position. Clue still in 8th with Masters right behind him. As we're more than halfway of the race with just under 35 minutes to go. We still have 4 drivers that haven't done their pit stops, 2 of which are busy serving them as we speak in the form of Greiling and McCall. Gerber in his Honda, pushing it to the limits again. History is anything to go by, we'll probably see him come in anywhere between the 30 and the 20-minute mark. Some big gaps between a lot of the drivers. And Kube, of course, seems to be putting a reasonable amount of pressure on Mr. Isherwood. Johan Bego Grobler sitting right behind Nkube in first position after having done 23 laps. So both Bego Grobler and Gerber pushing it somewhat. Try and gain as much time as they can on their already warm tyres, very low fuel. Nkube being courteous, minding out the way for Bego Grobler to come past under blue flag. Rather warm out there today as well. 25 degrees ambient temperature, 33 degrees on track. Some beautiful conditions to get your tires up to temperature. As I say that, we see the track temperature drop 1 degree. As in the sim, it is now 5 to 1 in the afternoon. Paul Gerber of Team Try Hard Racing, relishing in the second spot. Perhaps that's the MO. Just try and get into second or first spot for at least a little bit every week, as Johan Bego Grobler makes his way through some of the back markers. Johan Bego Grobler's best time being at 2:01.833. Which is 3/10, it seems. Just shy of 3/10 off the quickest pace, which is set by Mr. Lewis with his 2:01.575. Addison now sitting in 9th position in his blue and white Aston, number 765. As we take a peek behind him and see there's absolutely nobody. Oh dear, Masters unfortunately coming off second there with Clue. I am going to try this. I'm slapping minus 30 seconds on the replay. As we see Clue coming in behind Masters, is it an opportunity where Clue was hoping to squeeze it? Oh, he actually touched him while on the straight. Unfortunately, pushing a little bit too far. Possibly wanting to pull his nose out. Possibly a fraction too late. As we now see Masters in 7th, Clue in 8th. And I'm sure a little bit of damage to go. Isherwood holding 11th position with Nkube right behind, just shy of a second. The AMR of course being quite a popular pick these days. Definitely a good car to start off with, in my opinion. Of course, if we want to get our SA rating up, what do? We avoid Monza. Mount Panorama being one of those interesting tracks, some interesting apexes which you need to make sure you hit nice and clean. Some tight corners coming down the mountain. Definitely not somewhere where you'd want to start broadsiding or be involved in any type of collision, which we unfortunately did see quite early on. As everyone has now served their pit stops, we now have 14 drivers on track. Greiling sitting in 6th position. Not too many battles going on across the field. And Kerber probably being the closest, being 1.1 seconds behind Isherwood. As I say that, we found ourselves a little spot. Adam, of course, getting past Gerber. Now taking that 4th position. As we get down closer to the 25-minute mark. Of course, with the mandatory pit stop, you do not have to change your tires this season. What you do need to do is put in 1 litre of fuel. So some drivers might be pushing through to try and stay on the same set of tires. It does, of course, make a difference when you come in and out of the pit stop, the time used. Some drivers not wanting to spend that time would just like to get back out, get the tires warm, get going, and get a rhythm. Again, luckily the track temperatures are pretty good. Shouldn't take too long for the guys when they do come out, for them to have gotten up to speed. But what we could possibly start seeing is a bit of wear and tear, depending on how well the guys have managed their tires throughout the race. It's always nice and subtle until it's not, when you realize you have no grip. Lewis still holding that lead, and rather comfortably, if I might add. Sitting just over 12 seconds ahead of Mr. Rowe, Daniel Rowe, in his number 1 McLaren. Just shy of 23 minutes to go, or just over, as we are now down to 13 drivers. Yet another have decided to bite the dust, call it quits. Seems like Mr. Clue is sitting in the pits for quite an extended period of time. Not sure if he's going to be remaining in there. Might look it. Rather unfortunate, as we saw some really good battles out of him this evening. Junior McCall now in 8th position in his Mercedes. ATK obviously wanting to put on some points, and I think with some points this evening, we may see no, we won't. As it stands, Hybrid Academy Team Velocity has 274 points, ATK Academy with 231, in essence making that a, what is that, 43 point differential. So even with a win tonight, ATK would not be able to challenge that top spot. However, I'm sure they'd want to pull away from Team Stealth, also part of the Hybrid Academy umbrella, so to speak. As we look at the rear view of Isherwood, with Nkube right on his tail. As Isherwood creates a little bit of air between himself and Nkube. Johan Bego Hrobler seemingly putting a little bit of pressure on Mr. Rowe. As you've entered lap number 28 for Isherwood. Kubi maintaining that close distance. As we are now down to 13 drivers. We just seem to be losing drivers at a rate of knots, dropping off like flies. Again, I'm sure a couple of the guys have had some challenges during the course of the evening due to damage. Junior McCall still sitting in his 8th position. Fair distance, unfortunately, behind Luke Addison, so it's going to be a lot of work for him to gain. As we see Johan Bego Hrobler coming right up onto the rear end of Rowe, now taking him on the outside, allowing him to keep that inside line. Rowe probably going to force him out. No. Bego Hrobler not close enough to be able to tuck in alongside. Does he decide to give it a go up the hill? No. Backs off somewhat. Not going to be enough space for two to go through there. So under 20 minutes to go, with only 13 left on the track, this being one of the tense battles unfolding in front of us. Isherwood also sitting with Nkube right behind him. These two basically being the battles out there at the moment, and have been for some time. Let's just hope we actually finish the race with more than 10 drivers. Double figures would be good. These Audis are just so nimble through corners and up these little hills like this. Oh, and as I say that, unfortunately Nkube has a little bit of a broad slide. Unfortunately losing it somewhat, and is unfortunately going to lose a lot of time due to that. Not sure if he'd be able to gain it back again. Isherwood not having a bad pace this evening. It's been fairly consistent. At this stage, seems Mr. Lewis is primed to be king of the hill, as we see Isherwood coming out with a slight little slide there. Gaining control fairly quickly and being able to pull out of it. As we see, Vega Grobler has now overtaken Rowe. Not sure if it was a mistake from Rowe, which seems to might be the case, as he has dropped back somewhat. As we watch Jan Vega Grobler, followed by Rowe, who is pulling Van Lochenberg behind him. In his Bentley, number 136, black and pink, dash of white. As we see 3 hybrid cars there in the shot. Masters with some work to do. 1.1 seconds to catch up. Put himself in striking distance. Tonight seems to have been quite a tough race for a lot of the guys. Daniel Rowe having been nice and consistent this evening. As always, slow and steady wins the race. There's Daniel Rowe. I mean, his quickest time this evening is a 2:02.214. And just to give you an indication, there is only 1, 2, 3 other drivers that are outside of the 2:02s. We have a few 2:01s, mid 2:01s. But one thing we cannot deny is the consistency is absolutely there. It's not what you do now and again that matters, it's what you do consistently that counts. As we see a little bit of debris. Oh, it looks like the Honda is sitting on the side there. Is that Team Try Hard Racing? Yeah, unfortunately not having a good time of it. Also seemingly sliding out somewhat. Not sure if that's a repercussion of tyres. We know Mr. Gerber likes to push it near to the end. Whether he actually does his tyres or not is also a different story. Now sitting with 12 drivers on track as they continue dropping off like flies. At the end of the race, we might even just only have the podium that finishes. Rose still sitting in 3rd position. Gerber again of Team Try Hard Racing in 5th, trying to edge himself a little bit closer, but a little bit of work to do as he's now sitting 10 seconds behind Mr. Adam. Let me Adam. Okay, cheese of the day number 2. Mr. Hall, Dwayne Hall, sitting at the back. The back in this scenario being 12th position. In most races that would be not too shabby. Probably wouldn't be frowned upon. If you say you're last, well, better luck next time, I suppose would be the message. A lot of the guys, of course, having fallen out, so a lot of did not finishes. As we get closer to that 10-minute mark, we have a few guys out there struggling with the tyres a bit. As we have just over 5.5 minutes left of the pit window. Luckily there are no mandatory stops left. Everyone has served theirs for some time already. Krobler now sitting right behind Ottens, who is in 11th position at the moment. Krobler in 2nd, behind Lewis, 17.399 seconds behind, to be precise. And behind him with a much smaller margin is Rowe, 4.418. Behind Rowe is Adam, 1.31341 seconds behind, which at this stage, amazingly, is the closest gap across the grid, or field rather. Adam deciding to come out, make a bit of a move. As Van Lochenberg is kind enough to show him an indicator. Just let him know which side he can pass. Something I suppose I should also set up on the wheel. It's always useful to indicate to the guy behind which side is safe to pass. In other words, where do you intend on maintaining your line? As we edge closer to the 5-minute mark, well into the 10 minutes. Still sitting with 12 drivers on track. Gerbe in his 51 Honda, 12, just shy of 12.5 seconds behind Adam. Unfortunately, having had a spin out a little bit earlier, I'm sure that lost him a few seconds. Tariq Adam now behind Rowe again. We're back to a very similar starting grid. Lewis followed by Grobler, Rowe, Adam, Gerbe and Addison consuming the top 6. Junior McCall sitting in 7th position at the moment. Keegan Masters just shy of 15 seconds behind Junior. Of course, Morgan McCall having pulled out quite early due to what seemed to possibly be some serious damage to his AMG, his ATK AMG. These three keeping it nice and neat. As we've now hit the 5-minute mark, 50 seconds left of that pit window. Junior McCall, by far my favorite junior. Great to see the likes of Junior getting stuck into some racing early on. Although it's not like racing isn't injected into the McCall blood as they grow up.
Pit window is now closed.
As we see that pit window close, we now have 4 minutes remaining. So in essence, anywhere between 2 to 3 laps remaining. Adam seemingly sitting right behind Rowe again. Took them quite some time to get back into their uniform position as Adam decides, to peek his nose out. Not sure if he's indicating he's wanting to challenge Rowe for that position, or if he's just checking to see what's happening up ahead. Kind of anticipated the two of them sticking behind each other, but Adam's probably got some other ideas. If not, why not? Not really going to make too much of a difference to the team standings though, because between the two of them, I think it's pretty much set that they will be taking that third and fourth spots. Johan Bego Grobler, 7.5 seconds ahead of the Rowan Adam duo. Wall in his 646 Bentley. Mr. Lewis, in essence, now starting his final lap. Adam pushing hard, of course, wanting to finish off strong. Okay, not sure if there was a little bit of a team chinwag before. Just setting the rules of engagement out. What should and should not happen. But a good portion of the race, we had Adam obviously following nice and tight behind Rowe. Making for some really good visuals. That of course being this one, of course, being the final lap as we see Lewis come down to the final bend as he claims a victory this evening after 38 laps of duking it out. Nicely done, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Grobler coming in not too far behind. Just a few bends between the Bentley and the Audi. So with Hybrid Academy coming in second, third and fourth spots, as we now see Rowan Adam come over. Van Lochrenberg coming in at 10th position and him finishing off his stint. Mr. Gerber, a little bit of a slip and slide here and there. So the only Honda on the field coming across the finish line, making him number 5. Mr. Addison coming into his final corner, taking 6th position for Hybrid Community Team. Junior McCall getting himself a few points there, of course, for ATK Academy, ensuring that they stay within striking distance with only 2 races to go. I think it might start becoming academic as to what 2nd, 3rd and 4th place looks like. Masters coming into his final corners, a little bit of side by side with Isherwood, I believe. as they duke it out right to the end. Lovely to see some dying moments here where the guys are not giving up at all, not giving an inch. Isherwood edging that one, coming in at 8th position. Masters in 9th, doing a bit of a slide, decides to turn his vehicle around, park it nicely. Fantastic. That, ladies and gentlemen, is now the end of round 6, season 6 of the Raceface GT3 ACC Championships. Next week, of course, is the penultimate week, where we shall be heading to, drumroll please, Paul Ricard. Paul Ricard, one of those very interesting tracks. I, for one, tend to struggle on it on the odd occasion. The limits of the track just don't seem to be well defined enough for me. Way too much open space. But that is the 10th of June, will be round 7, the penultimate round. Not too many shifts, I would imagine, when it comes to the top 5 teams. Hybrid Academy Team Velocity still holding that strong lead. And that then brings us to a close for the evening. Looking forward to seeing everyone next week. Have a fabulous evening further, a fantastic weekend, and an even better week. Good night, and hasta la pasta.